What is happening, guys? Happy Sunday and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we're ranking them. That's right. We're to the wide receiver position. We're going to rank them 12 down to 1, and I'll tell you who's always been number one. Number one on his jersey, number one in our heart. He is, in fact, the man of the hour and the man with the power. Jerry Sinclair, buddy, what's going on?
Randy, it is a wonderful day yet again here in the Dynasty WarZone universe. Yesterday was a big day. I'm sure you don't recall it. I actually didn't. I was taking Lacey out for a little poop. That's my dog, not the wife. Because I was thinking, it's got to be getting pretty close to our anniversary, and wouldn't you know it? Cool. This way you'll have it and can mess with it. I need you to be ready to record on Wednesday, August 8th. We can record later, but we'll announce you on a bonus show that drops on August 10th. Yesterday was our 6-year anniversary, my friend, of when I became the host or the co-host.
What year was that?
That was 2018.
Yeah, but so we've already completed 6. We're starting 7.
Yeah, we're working on the 7th year.
I was looking the other day. I was uploading a new version on our network. So if you're watching on PlayerProfiler, first of all, thank you, as always, or listening on PlayerProfiler. But we have our own channel, Dynasty WarZone, and we have some great guys on there. Jesse, Chad, all the guys. I don't want to leave anybody out, but, I'm just rambling here. And I was looking the other day, and when I uploaded that show, it was number 850. We've uploaded 850 shows in our time together. And, with the help of, those guys at the Dynasty War Games, Dallas Hyder, who does the rookie rundown on our network, he'll be back up and running when the season, because it's all college based, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, last year, one of his biggest hits was Ben Sinnott. That was one, and I was pronouncing it Sinnott because it looks like Sinnott, but it's actually Sinnott. And that he was on him. He was telling us about Rome Odunze. Dallas hits. So if you're into Devy or you're into college football or you just want to be ahead, that's why we tell you to subscribe to our channel, because you're already getting Jerry and I, and we love you.
Very sweet. And it's one of them, because I was reading your DMs when you sent me that, and something was like, don't worry, I'll handle all the show. All you got to do is just, talk and be yourself. And not a damn thing has changed in
why would it?
6 years.
Why would it? It's I have no one to blame but myself.
That's true. You set me up, and listen, if you give me a parameter to be within, I'm gonna stick to it, my friend. That's verbal is binding in poker. Verbal is binding in our podcast contracts as well. I think my favorite thing that I read was when you told me you were going to give me the co-host, I was prepared to offer you the co-host spot on the DWZ, but MG, the former owner of the website where we started it, beat me to it. You ready for a weekly commitment? And the most Jerry answer ever: shut the fuck up.
That is the most Jerry answer ever. And, I don't get all of them right, but I definitely got that one right. I'm really glad. If you're watching on YouTube, we already got a bunch of people watching, and this one's going to be action-packed. We have a good people, bad tweets. We're going to talk about camp, and then back by popular demand, for 2 weeks in a row, not only have we been doing rankings, but we've been doing nonsense at the end of the podcast. And we warn people, hey, this is the nonsense segment. Was it 2 weeks ago? We broke down Deadpool and Wolverine. Last week, we talked about I think it was the French pole vaulter who hit his junk on the pole vault bar.
Davis tackle too.
And then we talked about the Vernon Davis tackle. If you're not sticking around to listen to the nonsense at the end, you're truly missing out on some good stuff. And I'll tell you something else. If you're not with Underdog right now, with Best Ball Mania and getting ready this season, you're missing out on that.
This episode is made possible by Underdog Fantasy, and Underdog Fantasy is the leader in best ball. When you go to join an Underdog Fantasy best ball draft, it fills very quickly, especially now. It's Best Ball Mania season, baby! Best Ball Mania 5! I can't believe they're at Best Ball Mania 5 already. $15 million in prizes. They're giving out $15 million with $1.5 million to first. Playing in best ball leagues makes you better. It helps train you on player value and strategy. And Underdog offers a lot more than just best ball contests. They offer pick'ems. My new favorite, the golf pick'ems, baseball pick'ems going on throughout the off season. Hit the pick'ems, back to best ball, hit the pick'ems. So use promo code Underworld. Promo code Underworld gets you a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. So they've increased the maximum deposit bonus. It was $100. Now it's up to $125. When you get the Underdog app, use promo code Underworld and go draft your ass off.
Well, I'm much loved Underdog, but I'm just saying you should go check out Fast Draft. Like if you're watching on YouTube, I've got the shirt on.
Company man.
Matt and Theo were at the Canton Expo this past week. And not only were Matt and Theo there, you know who else was there? Brittany. Brittany does all of the thumbnails for I can't say she does all of them unilaterally across the board for every Player Profiler show, but she does ours. And she's my favorite. And it was great. It was great to get to see her. She was hanging out with Theo. Check out Fast Draft. Check out Underdog. And Jerry, is there any camp news, anything that happened this week that really got your attention?
I think most of the rookies actually, I don't know about camp news, but as far as preseason games went, I think most of the QBs look pretty good. Your boy Bo Nix looking good. I mean JJ threw a bad pick to start, but he bounced back pretty well. I mean, Jaden Daniels was effective enough. Now it's preseason.
He was 2-3. I'm going to get
right.
that in a second.
But he was also running. Like he was, he's doing what he's got to do. You don't want to make colossal mistakes. You don't want to look lost. Looked good enough. I mean, I need to see it in the regular season when you're going against starters, but it was at least nice to see. They didn't look like Stetson Bennett, who threw 4 interceptions in a preseason game. That boy is about to be in Athens, Georgia, just living off of those natty games because he is not long for this league.
Not Trey Lance threw 41 passes for 108. He completed 25 for 188 yards. It was like 4.6 yards per attempt.
Nice.
Oh my God. So I'm the
he
guy.
Didn't turn it over though. He didn't turn it over.
That is true. It wasn't bad on Thursday night. It wasn't bad with the people losing their goddamn mind. But on Friday night, it just felt like the floodgates opened, and then it really got ridiculous on Saturday with, you mentioned Jaden Daniels. And I was like, I know, and I tweeted this because I'm a snarky son of a bitch, and I will never pretend like I'm not a snarky son of a bitch. But I tweeted this out the other day, and I was like, I don't think Twitter's going to, I hope Twitter doesn't lose its fucking mind over the first set of preseason games. And the GIF I posted was like of a riot. And sure enough, man, everybody was out there. Your buy window on so-and-so is closed. Your buy window on so-and-so has opened. But then I think the guy's name's Psy. If you remember the song Gangnam Style, remember when Gangnam Style? So there's this GIF that I've made and that it's now used. It's him being like slingshotted, like catapulted out from under a stage. And I was like, so I posted the thing about keeping our collective cool about the preseason games. And I was like, the minute I get Will Levis news, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I'm guilty. And then, I saw people overreacting to a lot of stuff. Someone posted like wide receiver snap counts from preseason games for like Marvin Mims. I'm like, yeah, it was like he had 1 and Cortland Sutton had 12. That's a good thing. I don't want Justin Jefferson running 12 routes in the first preseason game either. Preseason's fun. And this is my last thing on the preseason. We'll get into good people, bad tweets. But Jax Falcone, also a Player Profiler partner podcast from the Undroppables, he was like, am I the only person who does not watch preseason games? And we had literally had this conversation on the previous week's show. I'm like, most teams don't play anybody. You're seeing a very vanilla. That's why I don't get caught up about the offseason or the preseason success of these young guys. Because we did this last year with Kenny Pickett, and we fell for the banana in the tailpipe. You're seeing vanilla defenses. You're seeing backup players. You're not seeing schemed, full-scale installs of everything. So I try to keep it calm. So I was like, no, I don't watch. I got shit to do. Like, I'm sorry, noon on a Saturday, I'm not going to sit down on like a couch and watch preseason football. I got shit to do, Jerry. So no, I don't watch much preseason football. Anything that happens, I'll get highlights of for free on Twitter.
Well, 100%. I mean, don't tell my boss, but I usually just watch it when I'm at work. Like, I didn't watch the Lions game because I know they're not going to play anybody. I know they're not going to show anything, and I don't care. But like, I wanted to see Blake Corum run a little bit. Wanted to see the quarterbacks play a little bit. I was hate watching JJ McCarthy, which is weird because I have a lot of shares of JJ McCarthy, but I'll just never get over the fact that he's a Wolverine and a Viking. But you know, I just want to see a little bit. I just want a little taste. We've been talking about these guys nonstop for like 5 straight damn months. And now I finally get to see him play against other human beings. I mean, I got to peek in a little bit. Like, it's a little drug. Just give me a little.
Jerry needed his fix. Well, all right. Well, we didn't do one last week. We didn't have one, but we got one this week, Jerry. We got some good people with some bad tweets. This is a repeat customer here on Good People Bad Tweets. It is none other than Jeff Bell, at For Whom J Bell Tolls. This may not even be his second. This could be his third appearance on the podcast, but this is what happens when dynasty and fantasy football players start thinking they can be real GMs. It is that they get themselves in trouble, and they say the silliest of things. And in this case, Mr. Bell said, CeeDee Lamb for Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and a 2025 first. Real football, who says no? And I'm like, and I'm going to let you go on this. So if you were Brett Veach, who is, or Uncle Jera, I'm sure Uncle Jera would be in. If you were Brett Veach, would you give Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and a first for CeeDee Lamb? Oh, and I'm not saying CeeDee Lamb's not good, but you got to give him at least $36 million a year. And how are you going to pay for that? Because you got Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. They already had to let L'Jarius Sneed go. So please. And then you're going to be down an extra wide receiver because you gave up 2 to get 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go on a huge rant. Just the Kansas City Chiefs are not giving that up. And CeeDee Lamb is exponentially better than every single one of them. But it doesn't matter. Like, I don't really like Rashee Rice. Like, and that's knuckleheadness aside, just as a player, don't really love him. I think Xavier Worthy's intriguing. I got to give up a first plus both of those guys? Hell no. Not with the rate that wide receivers are coming into the NFL. Absolutely not.
This is where you can tell people don't watch the games and really don't pay attention to the offseason or apply any common sense. How many years ago did the Kansas City Chiefs trade Tyreek Hill?
Was it 2?
2. You know how old he was? He was 28. He was like in his super prime. And he's went on and had 2 super great seasons. And you know what? Last I checked, Kansas City won both of those Super Bowls without him.
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers traded Devontae Adams 2 years ago. He was 29. So starting that slight downhill trajectory. This is not what good teams do. You and I had this conversation. We always do, and this is just a shameless plug. It is we do the patron podcast before we do this one, and we did our wide receivers 12 or 13 through 24. And I talked about this. I was like, I don't know how a team with an elite quarterback can afford to have the highest paid wide receivers. Like Justin Jefferson's attached to a rookie. I think Tyreek Hill won't be a Dolphin next year. This is where, this is a dynasty gamer sending a dynasty trade and pretending like it's real football. But you make the rest of us dynasty analysts look dumb by comparison.
I mean, we usually are dumb.
We get lumped in.
I mean, I would take that trade in dynasty. Like I would give up those guys for CeeDee Lamb for sure.
But sure, because you're gonna have a roster of 25 offensive guys.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Matt Millen was not a good GM of an NFL franchise, but you know what? I still don't think he would take that trade.
I'm not taking that trade, and I will say this: I'm taking that trade in dynasty because of Rashee Rice's knuckleheadedness. I have a hard time trading 3 for 1, even for elite players, because we're going to get into the receiver rankings. It's just like, I don't know. It just tells me you don't understand the business of the NFL. It tells me you don't watch the NFL from more than a yards, catches, touchdowns perspective. You don't understand the business of the NFL. Good teams. And this is why I'm pro Jerry not paying CeeDee Lamb all this money. He can be mad. That's okay. CeeDee Lamb's okay to be mad. I understand why he would want to be paid. His peers are being paid. So of course he wants to be paid. I totally understand that. But as an organization, how can you go out and because he wants the highest non-quarterback contract of any player in the league, offensive or defensive, highest non-paid quarterback. And if you're Dallas, how do you do that when your left tackle situation's not secure? Because you just traded Tyron Smith or let him go, and now he's a Jet. You haven't secured Parsons. You do have the corner, but your quarterback is an unfranchise taggable free agent at the end of the season. I can completely understand why Jerry's not in a hurry to give CeeDee Lamb $36 million, because I think that's the number. This is what Dynasty gamers, unless you play like, and we used to, but it's just more work than it's worth in a salary cap league. So I just thought this was a horrible tweet.
Yeah, because what's going to stop them from if they don't sign him? It's one thing if CeeDee Lamb's under contract for 4 years, or you don't even know if you trade him all that and then he doesn't sign. What the F are you doing?
Well, I see Rubio in the chat on YouTube said Trey Lance season. Guys, that's why you saw 41 attempts from him today in that game. And remember this, whether you like Trey Lance or you don't, I didn't, I was right. But whether you like Trey Lance or you don't, remember, he went for more draft capital than Justin Fields and Mac Jones. So whether you like it or whether you don't, Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones, they were two different guys. Jerry Jones gave up more for Trey Lance than anyone else gave up for the other quarterbacks of that fabled 2021 class. But yeah, it was a special tweet. So a special tweet deserves a special visit from Dana White.
This motherfucker on the planet. Holy shit.
There you go. Good people, bad tweets. We are back up. Jerry, are you ready to talk about wide receivers?
Yeah, buddy. You want to go first? You want me to go?
No, I'm going to let you go first. And the we have a theme now. You're going first this week. I'll go first next week. We already did 24 through 13 for our patrons over at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. But Jerry, I'm going to give it to you. Let's go in clusters of 6, sir. Oh, okay. Can I ask you to hold on real quick?
Yeah.
We have patron and good friend of the podcast, Mike Kinney, in the chat on Hood.
The Crip Mac on Hood.
Of course, when you support the Dynasty Warzone and you participate in the YouTube chat, of course you can get
the Crip Mac on Hood.
All right, now forgive me and Crip Mac, Jerry. Give us wide receivers 12 through 7.
Crip Mac, OG. Number 12, rookie, Malik Neighbors. What? You think I got him too far down? Randell.
Oh, this is going to be a great show.
Oh, my God. You got him too high then. Number 11, another rookie. Rome Odunze, baby. Number 10, Garrett Wilson. And I'm going to talk about all these after. Number 9, I think Randy's going to hate this one because we did the Patreon one. I didn't see this name. Maybe you have him as a wide receiver 1. Jalen Waddle. Number 8, Puka Nacua. Number 7, Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay. So why Odunze over Malik Neighbors? Because Daniel Jones exists in this world. What?
Well, listen. Before we start talking about Malik Neighbors on my end, we got to get through my wide receivers 12 through 6 and take another commercial break. And then we got to bust into my 6 my 6 down to 1. Look, I have seen enough about Malik.
You got Malik Neighbors in your top 6?
I said what I said. Yes.
Holy shit.
And I will tell you right now, I've seen enough. I didn't like the little punk bitch move where he slapped Terry and Arnold in the helmet and ended up inciting a riot, which it was hilarious. Someone said Malik Neighbors at LSU went 1 against the Alabama Crimson Tide, and that was his 3rd L against Alabama because he absolutely went upside Malik. I think Malik Neighbors is special. And I saw this tweet today, and I forget who it was, or I would give them attribution. I would be like, they're like, the Arizona Cardinals are going to look back and regret taking Marvin Harrison Jr. over Malik Neighbors, and I agree. He plays the game the way that the guy. So when we actually get to the top 4, which are going to be the same for both of us, they might be in a different order. When you look at the way those guys play the game, that is how Malik. He is wide ass open. He is wide ass open. Like Drew Lock just like didn't see him, and I'm not saying Daniel Jones will, but he was making the corners on the Lions look ridiculous, and that's a good defense. That's a really is it Aaron.
Yeah, without the starters playing.
Yeah, I understand, but he is behind everybody. And listen, I see Foxborough News in the chat, talking about who's going to throw him the ball. Yeah, I remember when people said that about DeAndre Hopkins, and Tom Savage managed, to get him over 100 passes. This is why I've always been high on Malik Neighbors. I'll go ahead and spoil it because this is such a big sticking point for me. Is I have him 5. I have Malik Neighbors 5. That doesn't mean that you have to pay wide receiver 5 prices for him, but I'm telling you, he is going to be a guy that is going to scorch the earth. Roma Dunze, I think I had him 13. So you have him 11. I have him 13. Not a whole lot of nits to pick there. We talked about him and DJ Moore on the previous podcast, and we were just kind of going back and forth. Keenan Allen's going to be a pain in the ass for a year, but and then you had Garrett Wilson at 10. I have him considerably higher. Jalen Waddle, we're not too far apart. Puka, we're not too far apart. Marvin Harrison Jr., we both have 7. Tell me what it is about Marvin Harrison Jr. and why you have him 7. Because then I can commiserate.
Because the 6 guys ahead of him are absolute goonies who just are not to be touched with. I mean, we're talking about the 5 stars of Dynasty. And then the 6th one is the star of fantasy football. He's just older. You can guess who that is. And then I put Marvin Harrison Jr. in there. There's a real argument that I should put Puka there, I think, just because he's actually shown that he's an unbelievable star. But also, he is in a situation where he has Matthew Stafford. I don't know how much longer Matthew Stafford's going to play. And then that situation is a little more tricky as to where Marvin Harrison Jr. has Kyler Murray, and that boy is about to be there. You're not upset that I put a Dunze over Neighbors. You're just mad that I put Neighbors so high up.
Yeah, I could not agree less where you have Malik Neighbors.
I think you're high to put him at 5. Like if you think eventually down the road Malik Neighbors is this unbelievable elite talent, but look at all the guys up there. CeeDee Lamb has Dak Prescott, Justin Jefferson.
For how long?
Okay, I don't. What does it matter? What does it matter?
Well,
Probably a while. Probably a while. You think Dallas is going to let Dak Prescott go? No,
they don't have a choice. They can't franchise him. If they don't pay him, he can leave.
They'll pay him. They'll pay. This is Dallas.
We had the same conversation last year about Kirk
This
Cousins.
man just wants money.
We just talked about this last year with Kirk Cousins. They let him walk. They let him walk.
That's not Dallas. That's not Jerry Jones.
If Dak wants to leave, Dak can leave. He can go be the quarterback of the Raiders. He can go be the quarterback of a lot of teams. He doesn't have to stay there. He signed this contract and structured it for a reason.
You think Trey Lance is going to be the starter there if Dak Prescott leaves?
Fuck
no.
I could see Dion and Jerry working out some kind of weird deal where Shador Sanders winds up in Dallas. And hell, Jerry will probably.
I don't believe it.
There's
Trey Lance Jr.
But I will give you my 12, and then we can go on. Okay. I have Tyreek Hill.
Get the fuck out of here, Randy.
He's 30.
I don't care.
Okay. Well, he's
dominant.
Dynasty.
He is the most. Even if he plays 2 more years, he deserves more respect than that.
He's 30.
And
next year, and I want to talk about another guy, but hold on. I have Hill at 12.
Okay.
I have Waddle at 11. I have Nakua at 10. I have Olave at 9. Now, I will say, out of all the guys that I'm getting ready to talk about, he is the one who is the most likely to fall. If it's big put up or big shut up with Chris Olave, but that offense has looked good, and I believe, and I was the guy last year who said he was going to finish as a wide receiver 2. I think he finished as wide receiver 15. I think he takes a big jump. This next one apparently is going to hit you in the feels because I have AJ Brown at 8. Because AJ Brown, I get he's coming off back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons. I get they brought in Kellen Moore, a very pass-happy offensive coordinator. But he's 27, and there's plenty of competition in that area. And then we already agreed Marvin Harrison Jr. at 7. So tell me how you're building a dynasty around 30-year-old in dynasty.
About what's he got the last couple of years? Like 1,700 yards.
Completely understand.
He's got like a $40 million cap hit for the next 2 years. He's going to be a Dolphin. There's no way around it. I think it's like 58 million this year, and then it's like 40 million or something. He's a Dolphin. So I get 2 years of the absolute premier specimen at wide receiver that we have seen in the last 10 years. What more do I want? Yes, I understand age is a thing, but for God's sakes, people, we're not playing a 10-year game. Some people play for 10 years, but the window is work on 2 or 3. Because if you look at the ADP 2 years ago, T. Higgins was in this list of names that we're talking about. You notice how we're not talking about T. Higgins? You notice how we didn't even talk about Oh, I guess you did. You talked about T. Higgins in your top 24. I didn't.
I did, because T. Higgins this time next year will be on a new team, and he'll be someone's wide receiver 1. So I think having him where I had him was more than fair.
It's fine. It's fine where you have him. It's on the back end of a wide receiver 2, but we're talking 2 years ago. This man was like wide receiver 7. A lot can change in 2 years. I'm fine with Tyreek Hill. Like, I understand he's old, but when I'm winning money because I have 1,700 yards and I have 12 touchdowns, and you have Garrett Wilson with 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then that's only with Aaron Rodgers. Who knows what the hell is going to happen when that old man retires, and then he's got a new crumb bum in there. No. He's got his quarterback. He's got his contract. He's very stable. He's the most consistent wide receiver we've seen over the last 7 years at an elite level. No. Absolutely not, sir. As far as AJ Brown, I'm fine. Like, I disagree on some of the guys you're going to have ahead of him, but I just, like, one spot ahead of Chris Olave. I thought I was being nice for Chris Olave.
No,
but like, AJ Brown's. He's perennially getting you like 1,400 yards.
You know, when I tell you my guy I have at 6, if you were to say, hey, you really need to flip those 2, okay, that's
what I mean. I'm not appalled by the AJ Brown thing.
I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I didn't go to Player Profiler and just hit copy and paste on my rankings. I actually, I put some work into these, and I didn't go to Fantasy Pros and all these other aggregate, sites and just put all these rankings in there. No, it's like
a spoiler. I had DK Metcalf at wide receiver 13. Ain't nobody copying my list, sir.
I was gonna say, I knew weed was legal in Michigan, where you came from. How was
not in Iowa?
Well, it's good to know you're a felon.
All right,
it's he's 27. Again, nothing wrong with that. If these were seasonal rankings, Tyreek Hill would be 1.
Correct.
AJ Brown would be like 4. I'll tell you right now, if we look back in a year from now, and just for the 2024 season, if you tell me AJ Brown finished ahead of CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase, especially Chase and Lamb, I'm gonna be like, I can dig it. I can totally dig it. So from a seasonal standpoint, so much stuff happens in the NFL. I like a little bit more of the stability. But yeah, but with a lot,
he's stable enough.
Again, yes,
he's got his contract. He's got his quarterback's contract. Like he produces at a level unmatched. Like I know he's old, but goodness gracious, you're a hateful bastard.
I'm old. If anyone should be rooting for old people, it's me. So I'm not hating old people. I mean, he's way younger than me. I'm just saying. I put him in the top 12. He's the only wide receiver above the age of 30 to make my top 24. Cooper Kupp didn't make it. Devontae Adams didn't make it. Stephon Diggs didn't make it. I think I showed that guy, given his age and what I think he can do for the next 3 seasons, I think I treated him very fairly. I'm actually surprised I didn't get more of a pushback on Puka Nacua, because like the consensus in the industry is like 7-8. I have him at 10. But he's hurt, which is not like a career ender or anything. But Cooper Kupp has looked great. There's the reports already coming out that this offense will run through Cooper Kupp, which will not surprise me. So again, there's a little bit of hesitancy. I think I treated him fairly, but I wasn't going to rush to put him ahead of guys like AJ Brown and Marvin Harrison Jr. I just couldn't do it.
Which is fine. Like I'm fine with it. I understand. He's a bit of an outlier. He's definitely dependent on the single greatest asset to ever happen to fantasy wide receivers in Matthew Stafford. If something were to happen to Matthew Stafford, it is likely that Puka Nacua's value would tank, blah, 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 blah. I'm fine with it. I have my hair higher, but I understand not putting him there.
Well, I tell you what we'll do. We're going to recalibrate and we're going to reload. And I've continued to ask Jerry, is he doing seasonal rankings? But if you're in seasonal leagues and you need some seasonal league help, you may want to check out the draft kit.
Hey, it's the Podfather. I have great news. The draft kit is live. It is world famous. Why? Because it is the best resource for winning fantasy football championships that exists. There are rankings and cheat sheets for every format you can imagine. We have projections both at the team level and the player level. And wherever you are, you can click on a player, open them up, and see in-depth written analysis about what to expect in fantasy football from that player this year. And then you can click on the team and you can get even more in-depth analysis, all the drivers of fantasy production, both in a positive and negative direction for that team, including a signature trend. And the graphics are incredible. So these team insights, they give you the team level projections, the vacated targets, the vacated ARs. And we added a bunch of features. I mean, individual cheat sheets for Theo and Billy and Dario. So you could take your favorite analyst and download their personal draft cheat sheet. And then in the commissioners section, Memphis Young lays out everything you need to know to manage a league, the best minds in the industry contributing analysis. It's certainly not the most inexpensive draft kit on the market, but it is the best. PlayerProfiler.com/draft kit, PlayerProfiler.com/draft kit. Go get it.
There it is. I think I just played that commercial because it has my name in there. It's like one of those things. It's like, you know, I did do the commissioner section. It's something I'm very proud of. Again, if you're into redraft and you're looking for just 2024, great piece of business. All right, Jerry.
Hey, here's a question before we go. You've met Matt. I saw a picture of him at the expo. Is he tall?
So here's the thing about Matt. So normally we would save this for the nonsense at the end, but fun fact, Matt Kelly, big guy. You watch him on YouTube, on Player Profiler's YouTube. He doesn't look like a big guy.
No, that's what I'm saying. I saw that picture. I was like, yeah, okay.
He's probably 6'1".
Okay.
6'1". I mean, he's like a runner, swimmer, tennis player guy. So imagine that build. But yeah, deceptively tall, way taller than he looks like on screen for sure. 100%.
Like I look short. I am short. I can't hide it.
I'm just average size. Like, how tall are you? 6 feet. I'm right there. I'm barely a slot wide receiver. Maybe like a strong safety.
I'm like Tank Tail.
Yeah, exactly. Pocket Hercules. All right, give us 6 down to 1.
Mine are, listen, if you want to talk about copy and pasting everybody's rankings, I am with these ones. 6, Tyreek Hill. 5 AJ Brown, 4 Amon-Ra St. Brown, 3 Jamar Chase, 2 Justin Jefferson, 1 CeeDee Lamb. No, nothing spicy in the bunch there.
Well, then
I am chalk with everybody, so get yours out so I can yell at you.
So we can go to war.
Yes.
A guy that I'm like 2 spots lower on than I was this time last year, but Garrett Wilson. And don't give me the, did you see him fighting with Aaron Rodgers on the sideline? Here's the thing, guys. If you don't get that football's full of masculine, manly dudes, and sometimes you're going to have a disagreement and sometimes you're going to yell at each other, that's how this works. That's how football works. We can yell at each other 1 minute, and then the next minute we can be friends again. And by the way, conflict is how you resolve issues. What would have concerned me is if whoever was the aggressor in that situation had just sat on it and got pissed off even longer, because I think we've probably all done that with a significant other. We sat on it for too long and it blew up. So I'm totally fine. I like Garrett Wilson. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers does not blow out his other Achilles 4 plays into the season. Number 5, Malik Neighbors. And I am not ashamed to say the player profiler team is way more in line with you than they are with me. But I got Malik Neighbors 5. I'm probably putting him where he'll be this time next year, but that's okay. I got Jamar Chase 4, and I don't care who knows it. And listen, this guy's been living on reputation for the last several years. I don't think he's finished inside the top 3 at the position. So why do I have to rank him inside the top 3 at the position? Think 4 is fair. You know, a lot of people will give you that cheap, lazy, oh, he's in a tier. No, he's number 4. You know, we talked about this in our pre-podcast. It's for me, it's like I told myself I'm doing a wide receiver only draft. Like you only draft wide receivers, and this is the order in which I would draft them. Number 3 is Justin Jefferson. Love Justin Jefferson. I love what I've seen out of, again, the player who beat the stop liking guys so much, with a stick with Sam Darnold, but he looked pretty good. And then JJ McCarthy looks fine. So there's not going to be any dip in quarterback production. For me, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's my wide receiver 2. And then CeeDee Lamb's 1. I will say from both, and this is a historic thing, and I would need like the injury docs. Maybe you can ask Dr. Kyle, our own in-house doctor of physical therapy. I do not like guys that sit out and miss training camp. It just kind of feels like they're always going to pull a hamstring, a groin, a calf. It just seems to happen every time, especially at skill positions. Now, that's a narrative in my head. I don't have any data currently to back that up. But again, for me, 6 down to 1, Wilson, Neighbors, Chase, Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb.
Wow.
What's the one that's surprising for you?
I think Justin Jefferson at 3 is surprising, but it's whatever. That's just picking and choosing between 2x4s when you know a 2x4 is going to get the job done. So I don't mind it as much, I guess. Jamar Chase is fine. Malik Neighbors at 5. Wild. But that's, if you believe in him, that's fine. The egregious one is Garrett Wilson at 6.
Really? I'm looking at Player Profiler, and I don't look at rankings. I use just a list of wide receivers, but I'm dead in line with Player Profiler.
And I think they're absolutely nuts. We're talking about a dude who's had back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons. He had a 4 touchdown season. He had a 3 touchdown season. And his quarterback is 40-something years old. And he's coming off a torn Achilles. So let's say it works out exactly how everybody wants it to work out with Garrett Wilson. And he ends up having a monster season. But the Jets are the Jets. So I don't, not very likely to win a Super Bowl. And what if Aaron Rodgers leaves? So they have a successful season. but Aaron Rodgers leaves. What are they going to do with the quarterback position? So I have no stability at all. And that's
hold on.
best case scenario that he
keep
does well with
nullifying
Aaron Rodgers.
Your own argument for CeeDee Lamb to be number one.
Yeah, but I've seen CeeDee Lamb have a 1,600-yard season. I have not seen Garrett Wilson be capable of doing
that's why I have Garrett Wilson at 6.
Well, to be at 6, we're talking about you have A.J. Brown a couple spots below him. We've seen A.J. Brown get 1,500 yards, and he's in a more stable situation. He's under contract. Like he's good quarterback that's signed. He's got a contract signed. He's been more productive. We're relying on Garrett Wilson to just show up out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, how is 1,100 yards in back-to-back seasons with literal
It's fine.
crumb bums?
It's fine. It's not wide receiver 6 good.
With literal crumb bums and shoe clerks at the quarterback position. And I will say this, Aaron Rodgers' contract, regardless of his age, is a lot longer than Dak Prescott's currently.
But
currently.
Dak Prescott is going to get a contract, and I would be stunned if it wasn't in Dallas, but let's just say it's not. Okay. Aaron Rodgers is not long for this league. And also, the last time we saw Aaron Rodgers, he was not great. Like that's the one I just can't get behind. Malik Neighbors is wild, but if Malik Neighbors is a star, then by all means, he's going to be up there. That's fine. That's just it's too spicy for me because I don't want to have to rely on Daniel Jones enough to get him there. But also I have him, where did I have him? 12. I got him 7 spots behind. He's still a wide receiver 1. That's fine. Garrett Wilson. He's shown me nothing. He's shown me nothing that suggests he's special. At this point, he's Devonta Smith. But instead of paying wide receiver 17, 15 prices, I got to pay wide receiver 6 prices. And at least Devonta Smith's got a quarterback that's in line to be there for a while. Like, hell no. No, Randall. So what's your thought process? What's your thought process on Garrett Wilson? You just think he's this elite talent that's just going to be dominant?
He's 24. Which is part of the reason why I get 3 more years in Dynasty. 3 more years. If they both let's say hypothetically AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson both play until they're 32. So theoretically, I would have Garrett Wilson for 8 years versus 5. That has to account for something. That has to matter. You know, I'm taking the quarterback situation into this, and that's why I had Waddle at 11. Is I didn't realize the dead cap number was as high. It's hard for me to put a team's wide receiver 2 as a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Fair. Very, very difficult for me. But no target competition. I'm just going to assume because Aaron Rodgers is going to be there for 2 years.
Maybe. If he can play.
I know he can play. How well he can play. Now the difference is Tom Brady didn't have the Achilles. These are the constant things I had to hear about Tom Brady. I don't know how long he can do it. You know what? Mike Evans sure had some good years with Tom Brady.
Aaron Rodgers ain't Tom Brady, though.
In some regards. In some regards, he's better.
Fair.
You know, I'm not going to go as far as say, he's in the GOAT conversation because he's clearly not. But I think Garrett Wilson is currently, if you have him that low, then you're holding last year against him because the quarterback got hurt. Because now again, target accuracy matters. He garnered 168 targets. So if he gets 168 targets, but it goes from Zach Wilson, and I don't even remember the other skid marks on the trousers of the Jets quarterback room. But
either.
I don't. Yeah, I know there was somebody, but that's 10 targets a game, and now I'm going to get 10 targets a game from Aaron Rodgers. I just think that we're going to see some good stuff. And who else is he competing there with?
Nobody. Which is why if this was Randy's fantasy football in 2024 rankings, you know what? I can dig it. I don't believe in it. I wouldn't do it, but I can respect it. As far as Dynasty is concerned, what the hell are you doing when Aaron Rodgers is gone? because Aaron Rodgers is not going to be around for a long time. It's just a very unstable situation. And if you draft Garrett Wilson where you have him ranked, you're taking him very high, which means you need to rely on him being a stable asset on your team and a foundational piece. And there's just so much volatility that's in his future.
Well, that's kind of,
and maybe it'll be better. I'm not saying it can't be better. Listen, it'll all be better than Zach Wilson and whoever the other person is we can't think of right now. But whoo, spicy, especially when there's so much talent. That's why I just have a tough time putting him there. Because I put him at 10, but I also could easily have him at like 18 and not feel bad about it at all. If George Pickens ends up being better than him, wouldn't be surprised for 1 second.
Yeah, we already discussed George Pickens. But I'm just banking on the talent, banking on the situation.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. You love Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I do. I mean,
so you have Jahmyr Gibbs as RB1.
Yep.
You have Amon-Ra as wide receiver 2. We're going to do tight ends next week, but I'm going to guess my boy Laporta is somewhere near the tippy top there. Talk to me. What do you just, I know you're not a Jameson Williams guy, so I know you hate that situation. You just love Amon-Ra? Is it because he's a workout guy? Is that why you love him?
It's not because he's a workout guy. It's just because he's just always there. I love consistency. I love consistency. A guy that is just, and he's only getting better. And, he's got the quarterback locked up.
He's locked up.
Yeah. It's just too good. It's just too good of a situation. And I'm sitting here looking, I'm trying to kind of filibuster a little bit because I'm going through the points. I mean, he had 119 catches last year. 119.
Big old ding dong.
I mean, we talked about that on last week's show, not so much just in like overall in general. But I'm sitting here looking, it's like Jamar Chase is not anywhere near that. I'm looking right now, the most he's ever had in a season was 100 catches. I get 20% more. I get 20% more catches with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
20. I get 20 more catches from a guy in this.
Less injury concern. Your quarterback gets injured less often than Joe Burrow does. No, I'm fine with that.
I'm just looking. I just scrolled through the last 3 seasons. I think the best finish of Jamar Chase's career for a season in fantasy points, which is what we use to win fantasy championships, he's never finished above wide receiver 5. So why do I feel this obligation to put him ahead of guys who have? I don't.
Which is fair.
I don't. With Justin Jefferson, it's nothing about the hamstring. It's nothing about the quarterbacks.
QB. Oh, it's not QB?
No. I have been, and here's the fun thing about QBs, and maybe we'll rehash this another time. But as much as everybody liked Caleb Williams, and everybody liked, Jaden Daniels, and everybody liked all the rookie QBs, Jerry, guess what? 3 of them are going to fail.
Yeah.
3 of them are going to fail, guys. That's what no one tells you. So, but I do think so far, the same reason I like Will Levis, the same reason, and it seems dumb. It seems dumb. But the same reason I like some of these mid to above average, slightly above average quarterbacks so much is I like that Shanahan offense. And it's not new. Kyle Shanahan didn't invent this like 10 years ago in Atlanta. Okay, guys, for some of you newer football fans, that's not the thing. His dad invented it, along with Gary Kubiak, whose son happens to run the New Orleans Saints offense, part of the reason why I like Chris Olave so much, and mid-ass Derek Carr so much for 2024, not Dynasty. But I like that offense. I think that offense has a way of elevating, and it seems maybe a little silly, but I think I'm right where I need to be. But we're splitting hairs.
We are, for sure.
So
the Justin Jefferson, though, why 3? Because, I understand why you love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He gets tons of targets, blah, 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 blah. I mean, JJ's gotten that, too. And, I mean, JJ's 1,400 yards, 17, 18. He was on pace for another, 16.
All right.
Like he's just an animal.
Let's say a healthy Hawkinson and Sam Laporta cancel each other out. Is that fair?
That's
maybe
fair.
not. Maybe not in dynasty value, but in
Good,
actual
but no,
NFL
yeah,
on the field.
yeah.
So that they cancel each other out.
Yeah.
He's not dealing with Jordan Addison, who, even though he seems to have a bit of a sleeping behind the wheel, I don't want to be as go as far as to be accusatory and saying that he has a substance issue. But I've never fallen asleep on the highway behind the wheel of a car, at least not yet. But Jordan Addison, for whatever you want to say, he looks really good, and he is going to be way more of a nuisance from a fantasy standpoint to Justin Jefferson than Jameson Williams, and the guys. So
that's a fair argument. That's fair.
It's not, like I said. I took the Laporta and the Hawkinson thing, and this one goes this way, this one goes this way. That's a wash.
Yeah.
So it's just that next tier. But I would also
I don't find it appalling. I just sort of want to pick the brain.
We're talking 2 versus 3. If I had Justin Jefferson at 7, it would be but I could also get where someone would come after me and push back and say, well, if you think that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get all these receptions, wouldn't some of that come at the expense of Amon-Ra St. Brown? And I would put my hand up and say that is a fair counterpoint to my argument.
You saw it last year where it wasn't true. So
yeah, I mean,
there's plenty of feasting in the Ben Johnson universe.
Well, it's and that's all of this goes into one pool, and I didn't do it on purpose, but as I look at it on paper, like I have that 5 through 7 is like my, our good friend Nate plays in a lot of the GOAT district leagues with us. Nate, he hates the fabled word upside. But 5, 6, and 7 are my upside guys. I'm chasing the upside there with Neighbors, Wilson, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Because I put those guys ahead of A.J. Brown, who's established, and over Tyreek Hill, who's established, and even to a degree, Jalen Waddle's pretty established. But you got to have some room for some upside guys in there, and I'm not going to push those guys further down the back.
I feel like we have found the root of our issue.
What's that?
Because you're willing to risk with the upside in those spots, as to where I have those guys at like 10, 11, 12, sort of in that range.
Which is weird because when you do a startup, you are a very risky GM. Like you'll risk it for the biscuit, and you've also done.
I'll take my guys for sure, but not that unproven of guys. Like I need a little bit more stability. Like will I take DK Metcalf earlier than people and risk it that way? For sure. 100%. I'm not a draft rookies kind of guy. And I said this on the Patreon. I think doing your top 24 rankings gives you a good baseline of, because I don't usually like to do rankings. It's just not my style. Like I like this group of guys is my guy. But I think the biggest thing I've learned about the wide receivers is I want like a top 7 guy that I want. It's like, when you're drafting in a super flex league, I want one of these top like 7 or 8 guys so that I have my hammer. And I'm sort of the same with wide receiver. Like I want a CeeDee Lamb, an Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of those guys that's just absolutely reliable, elite production. You plug them in, you get a roster boner, or if you're a female,
a roster baiter.
Yes, yeah, like you're happy about it.
That goes both ways. But
then for the rest of it, I can just grab one of the next guys.
Yeah,
this is what I said in the Patreon. Like the difference between like I have Jalen Waddle at wide receiver 9, you have him at 11. The difference between like him and someone like a DJ Moore, a Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Jordan Addison, I don't think there's a huge difference there. So why in the hell would I spend one of the early high prices on a guy when I can get similar production for somebody much later and sort of get a better position sort of in between in those rounds?
For me, I always go into a draft prepared the same way. But what I do is like I will alter and tailor my draft to who I get. Like if I get Justin Jefferson, my build's going to look a little bit different than if I get Malik Neighbors. And it's going to look a little bit different if I get AJ Brown. It's going to look a little bit different if I get Chris Olave. It's just all of these guys, it's that choose your own adventure. And that's why I think people, especially in startups, they get themselves in trouble because they go locked in with this philosophy is that I'm going to do a win now team. Okay. But then you start drafting non-win now players. You start drafting upside players, which is awesome, but that's not win now. It's like, and that's why when you're doing this, it goes back to the thing about the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a plan. They knew exactly where they were going with this, so they knew how their build was going to go. But Jerry, we're almost into the end of the show. The reason why we're a little bit early tonight, and see, this is why you put the notifications on. If you like to watch live, and thank you to the hundreds and literally hundreds of people watching on YouTube and X, we really appreciate you guys for watching and really appreciate the comments. That's Jerry's throwing up that's throwing up heart hands, but old Uncle Memphis, keyword old, has to get up at 4 a.m. because he's got to go to the home of CeeDee Lamb. Got to head to Dallas tomorrow for a little work trip, work trip.
I mean, it's unfortunate that it's work, because if there's one thing that sucks in this world, it's work, buddy. Well, are you going to get a chance to go to Dealey Plaza at all?
Hold on one second, guys. We have officially entered the nonsense portion of the program.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if you're listening or you're watching and you're just here for the football, thank you. Pleasure.
Appreciate you. Love you.
We'll see you next week. We'll be talking tight ends, but now we're going to get into nonsense. No, I am such a predictable person, but I'm easy. So first of all, my coworker who booked this goddamn trip, it's like, we're not doing this visit until Tuesday. So I'm cool flying out on Monday, right?
It's cool.
But why am I flying out at 6 a.m?
Yeah.
I'm going to get in Dallas at like 10 a.m. local time because there's a connection. Yeah. We're going to get there. We're going to go get lunch and we're going to wind up at this hotel. And then I was going to be working from the hotel. I'll be honest, I'd rather sleep into my normal time, go to my office go to my office for a while, follow up with the team, make sure everybody's locked in because I'm going to be gone till Thursday. Make sure everybody's locked in and then go. But you know what? As Tony Soprano once famously said, you can't put shit back in the donkey. The itinerary is what it is. So right now, the only plan. So here's what I'm doing. So on Tuesday night, we're going to dinner with these visitors, this company we're going to visit. So we got to go to dinner with them. But outside of that,
Theo, just so you know, we let everybody know this is nonsense. So if you're watching, we
appreciate it. We appreciate it, Theo. You turned in at the wrong time. But Texas has these social clubs. And I don't mean gentlemen's clubs. I mean social clubs where they play poker legally down there. They have one called Texas Card House. They've got one called Peaks.
I watch their streams every week.
Yeah. So if the more I consume on YouTube, the more I don't even watch regular TV. It's like I watch poker live streams all the time. So this is how nerdy I am. So tomorrow night we're going to get in, we're going to get there. I'm going to do some work up until about 3 or 4. Then I'm going to go eat and I'm going to go to one of the card shops, not like baseball card shops, but like one of the card houses and spend an evening playing some 1-3 or 2-5. Then Tuesday night I have this dinner. So after dinner, I'll, come back and do whatever it is that you do. And then Wednesday night, our last night there, because we're not flying back Wednesday evening when we get done, we're flying back Thursday morning because of course we would. So Wednesday evening, there's a jiu-jitsu gym not too far from where we're staying. And I'm going to go down and get some work in with some Texas boys.
Oh, you got a chance to go to you got to go to Dealey Plaza, man.
So what's Dealey Plaza?
That's where JFK got shot.
Oh, I'm not going down there.
Oh my God. The historian in me is appalled.
Well, I mean, I like history as much as the next guy, but I mean, we got one rental car and Peaks Dallas is like 6 minutes away from the hotel we're staying at. So that's definitely in.
At least get some barbecue. It's a
Oh,
cheat day.
yeah,
Can
yeah,
you get a cheat
dude.
day?
No. Yeah, no. Here's the thing. Here's the
See,
thing
I
about
live cheat days.
here's the thing about diet nutrition. You know, if you have one bad meal a week, right? One bad meal a week,
Yeah,
you're
that's about how many bad meals I have.
you're still an A student. If you have 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, and you have one bad meal, you're an A student. You can't have one of these rock, I want to say rock, Dwayne the Rock. You can't have one of his epic 15 pancake and donuts and all the stuff that he eats, because I'm not on the supplements that he's on, which is fine. I'm not judging.
Steroids.
But Jerry, I would never go as far as to say as such, but could be. There's a good possibility, but maybe. We're going to say maybe so that if The Rock ever listens to this show, we don't
Same
get
birthday
sued.
as me, so love him. Yeah, May 2nd, baby. Love you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I'm barbecue for sure. Barbecue for sure.
Okay.
You know what, Jerry, you've given me a good idea. I'm going to check for barbecue joints between the hotel we're staying at and Peaks Dallas Poker Room. If I can find some good barbecue on the way, I can go get some good barbecue. You can take it and literally sit there and eat it. Theo in the chat. Yeah, Trent, Clint, and Anavar. I mean, that's the stack. But anyway, so yeah, man, we're but last of the nonsense. Forget about me traveling while we're trying to wrap the show up. I'm making it go longer. Any final thoughts on the Olympics?
I watched the closing ceremony a little bit at work today, and it was like you were on a bad acid trip. Now, just from what I've heard, obviously, would hate to be a bad influence on YouTube and Player Profiler. So it was wild. I watched a little bit of the men's basketball. I watched the end of it. I was at work. We were busy, so I couldn't really like watch it, but I saw Steph Curry drop his nuts on France. I watched the women a little bit today, saw they got the win. America tying for the most golds, got the most medals. Let's go.
Yeah, the state of Indiana had more medals than like Brazil, and like if Indiana was a country, they would have finished like 10th in medal count. So the Hoosier state did well. My big takeaway is that if you were to ask non-Americans, right? Non-Americans, do they think American women are tough? I bet you they do. And the women proved it in wrestling, because the women wrestlers were out there. You saw that video. Yeah, I tweeted
my
out.
God. That girl's a demon.
She got stapled, like literally belly to back souffle, just like right where like the neck meets the shoulders.
I would have died.
Oh, I guarantee you she could take you.
Oh, not without question.
She would just pummel you into submission.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even going to argue that.
I mean, she probably lives in Iowa.
She does look like she does. I mean, they are good at wrestling here. I think
good.
what would make the Olympics better, and I know people have said this before, but just have one regular guy out there. Like when they're running the 400, just have like me, because like I think I'm quick, right? Just put me out there and let me run the 400 with them, so that way we can just get a grasp of just how much better these people are than normal human beings.
But instead of having one of those runner's batons, you're running with like a long neck. or like a like a high noon. You're running with like one of those, and that's what you hand to them.
I mean, listen,
and then the last guy
I couldn't
finish
run 400 meters without stopping either.
Has to shotgun it.
Yeah, like just any of it. Like the high jump. My wife asked me, she was, how high do you think you can jump? And I was like, I could jump on the pad. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you think I could jump 2 meters into the air? Hell no.
You know, my big thing, I think I said this last week. My big takeaway that really bothered me was they changed the name of track and field to athletics. Like, what's wrong with track and field? It's always been track and field.
I don't know. But is there any sport that you think you would? I mean, obviously you couldn't hang in any. That goes without saying. But like, what's your best one? What's your most likely to not embarrass yourself?
Current?
Yeah.
I would have to be jiu-jitsu, because it's the only thing that I do now that I no longer do CrossFit. Because like if I was still doing CrossFit, because there's Olympic weightlifting in CrossFit, whether it's the snatch, the clean and jerk, etc. So there's Olympic lifting. It would have been that, but I've like kind of transitioned away to that to just start working on my so it would have to be jujitsu. Now, I'm a white belt, and I'm not one of these white belts who thinks I'm a weapon by any stretch of the imagination. But between my wrestling background from when I was a younger guy, I could hold my own. I would not embarrass myself.
The worst one has to be water polo. You got to tread water the whole time. You got to like huck the ball. I would die. I legitimately think I would die if I had to play. Like, I'm not the best swimmer in the world, which is not great because I'm from Michigan and there's a bazillion lakes, but I think I would die. And I say that without embarrassment. Like, that's such a horrible, horrible sport. Fun to watch. I like watching it, but
no. They're doing flag football in the next Olympics.
Okay.
We'll end it on this. Who do you want to see?
Tyreek Hill.
Okay,
no, he's old. Xavier Worthy. Put Xavier Worthy out there.
All right.
I want to see some plumber from Tunisia trying to block Xavier Worthy and slow him down. Not a shot.
All right. I think flag football is going to be akin to the 92 Dream Team.
Yes.
Where they just beat knots upon everyone. And eventually in, 30 some odd years later, eventually the rest of the world will catch up, because I thought France, Serbia, a lot of the basketball teams looked really good. Yeah, I mean, Wemby looked great. Djokovic. Speaking of guys who look like a plumber,
that's true, but
he looks like he just, he was just checking my commode and
no. And listen, I hope flag football works out. Like, I hope they get actual good athletes who can play, even if they don't know the game that well, because eventually it'll lead to American football being in it, and that's going to be awesome. But I mean, we probably won't get NFL players because of contracts and stuff, but it would be awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm looking at Go Jen in the chat. He could have like some legends. You could literally have
old guys,
you could like run it out there like an old timers league. All right, one sport that you would remove and one sport that you would add.
One sport I would add.
Yes, like something out there that's not in there that maybe you would add, and anything you would remove.
I mean, I'm honestly, I don't really have anything I would remove. Maybe speed walking, but maybe that's entertaining. I don't know. A sport I would add. I sort of like axe throwing. Like, I mean, we have axe throwing at my work and I'm pretty good at it, so I sort of like it. But that's all I have off the top of my head. I can't really think of anything that I would want to add. What do you got?
The rich people will be mad, but I think I would get rid of sailing. Because think about what you need. First of all, you're not going to get a lot of sailors unless they're in the United States Navy from Michigan or Montana. It's kind of a rich guy sport. Yeah. So that's not like something. It's like when you think of the original Olympic Games, like track and field's the right thing. It's who can run the fastest, who can jump the highest, who can swim I get it. And again, I know I'm a jiu-jitsu nerd now at this point, but I think I would make them choose between Taekwondo and karate. You can keep one. I don't care which one, because they're similar enough.
As a black belt in Taekwondo, I feel appalled at you.
Well, then that's fine. We've got 3 striking sports. We got boxing, we got Taekwondo, we got karate. We do have grappling with wrestling, but I think we could balance that out. So, but I would definitely add jiu-jitsu, just because all you need is a mat and some shorts.
You know what I would get rid of? And it's not that I want to get rid of it. There's something about it that I hate. Surfing. Like, they couldn't even surf.
It's the same as sailing.
Like,
I agree.
I understand, because there's not like waves in Paris, obviously. So they had to do it in like Tahiti, I think. So it wasn't even part of the Paris Olympics. It was just like a separate surfing competition. Also, the waves are just different for everybody. You got to wait around. Like, I tried to watch it because I was like, I've never surfed in my life. I live in effing Iowa right now. So like, I've never surfed, but I wanted to watch it. I don't think I watched a single person surf once. And I had it on for like 40 minutes because it was like they just kept waiting for waves, and it was terrible. But
the only person I want to see
found a
surf,
cool way to do it, I would do it and I would watch it. But
the only person I want to watch surf is Johnny Utah in the Cinematic Classic Point Break. Outside of that, don't really have any interest. But I do have interest in wrapping this thing up. I gotta go. I gotta go to bed. I do love the nonsense at the end. I'm putting this highlight up there in case Theo's still listening. Go Jen said, "Hey Theo, can we get a Superflex Dynasty episode?" Go. I will see if we can get Theo to come on in the coming weeks. Obviously, next week we're going to do tight ends next week, but we'll see if the weekends after that, maybe we can get Theo to stop by.
Don't invite a guest on for that one. That would just be a mean trick.
Well, listen, here's the thing. I love the people who are in the chat. Go Jen, John Machado, Rubio, Brian Sykes, Theo. I could keep scrolling. Foxborough News, Mike Kinney. I mean, I could keep going, but I'm not. But those people, they support us. And if they have something that they'd like us to cover, if we can cover, man, we should make that happen for them. That's what we do. We'll invite Theo, very busy guy, director of content, player profiler. That is not a job that is taken lightly. But we appreciate everybody. Thank you all so much for the support, all the comments in the chat. It means a ton. And we'll be back next week. We'll wrap up the rankings. We'll get into some hot takes. We'll get Theo on. We got stuff to do. You guys got stuff to do, like having a great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.